And for instance, with the royal families, the popes had to always give permission for two members of a royal family to marry. For instance, especially if they were on the throne. And there could be no relatives or family association for 7 generations, in order to marry. And when the Roman empires collapsed, the Western Empire collapsed first, the Eastern Empire collapsed in the 1500s, late 1400s. These ruling families wanted to reassemble the Habsburg Empire. Remember, the Roman Empire became the Habsburg Empire, and they wanted to recreate that Roman Empire, and they did it by intermarrying very closely related people, but they had to all have land that were pieces of part of the Holy Roman Empire. And so there was so much inbreeding in the Habsburgs. The Jesuits did it, actually. And they did it, one particular Habsburg prince, who was to be the emperor, Holy Roman Empire, had so much inbreeding that recently Germany did DNA studies on the whole Habsburg bloodlines. And they said he had the DNA of someone who had been the product of sex between a sister and a brother.
That's Egyptian, isn't it?
That's Egyptian.
That's a dynastic pairing.
Yes.
So what you're saying also, before we leave this point or move on past it, is that certain physical traits are also passed on.
Yes,
that
they are.
They're telltale physical traits because of this breeding program, including mouth structure, in the case of Fidel, at the brow, the bridge, the nose structure.
Yes, intelligence, beauty. There are many, many characteristics that they're breeding for, but it can also be a way to wage war. So instead of waging all these wars to reunite the Habsburg Empire, the war was in bed. So they did it through inbreeding.
And then they can reintegrate the empire.
Well, after about
consolidate it.
After about 200 years, a bloodline will just die out because they're infertile from so much inbreeding. And so they would just take a cadet family, one of the other branches, and they'd plug them in. And so it was the same bloodline. But if you look at the Habsburgs, they all have strawberry blonde hair. It's reddish blonde. And there's a Pope, Orsini, who had reddish blonde hair. And I think he was involved in the Habsburg line.
Okay. Well, that helps explain how, by examining portraiture and today photography, and perhaps some forensic scientists can break it down as well, measure eye distances and eye color, and of course DNA. We're going to be plugging in some of the missing pieces of this puzzle here to further support this hypothesis of this ancient bloodline that's at the head of our world civilization.
And so
and mean us harm. They want to, from what I'm gathering, they want to exterminate most of the human population, regardless of race.
They do. They've had their own breeding program, especially through the universities. I had 53 marriage proposals at Davis and in the UC system, and I was going crazy. It was frightening me to death. I thought they were crazy. I didn't know why they were asking me to marry them. Well, they were Kuhn Loeb, the Loeb-Kuhn Loeb banking family. They were there was another one, a couple more. Anyway, they were all banking. Goldman Sachs. There was a Sachs introduced to me in the geology department at Davis in Berkeley, and he said, "You're really a catch," and I didn't know what was going on. Now I understand. These are breeding programs.
And you were targeted as a broodmare. That's how Diana Spencer described herself.
She was a broodmare.
She was a broodmare.